Welcome back everyone. Hi, if you're new, I'm Tori, and today I'm going to share with you just some quick reading updates, let you know how the month is going so far, and then also share some books that I have on my TBR that I would like to get to before May is over. I'm currently reading two books that I'm really enjoying right now. I'm getting back in my sci-fi game, which I'm really happy about because I feel like I've been reading so much fantasy this year, which has been good. I've been reading some fantasy that I've really been loving, but it's nice to start to get back into the rhythm of reading some sci-fi. And then also last week, I finished a buzzy new fantasy book that I'm sure you've probably seen going around. So we are gonna get into that towards the end of the video. I don't have anything like overly negative to say about it, nothing juicy or anything, but I've been sitting on my thoughts for this book for a while, and I did do a pretty quick like TikTok review of it, but now it's sat with me even longer. So I'm gonna share with you a lot of my thoughts on this book. So I hope you all enjoy this video, and I hope you are having a good reading month. Let's get into it. First, let's start with my two current reads. Both of them are sci-fi books, and I am so happy to say that I am enjoying both of them. The one that I am making the most progress in so far is The Stars Undying by Emery. This is really good so far, you guys. I actually had an arc of this book when it came out, I think like October or November of last year, and I didn't make much progress in the arc at all, and I just put it down. I was like, oh, I'll get to it eventually. But now I have finally picked up the physical copy, and this is really doing something for me. I feel like Emery has taken basically everything that I love and is like, let's put it in one book for Tori. This is so good. So like I mentioned, this is sci-fi, but the cool aspect of it is that this is inspired by Julius Caesar and Cleopatra. And we have two main characters who we're following. One of them is Alta Gracia, or just Gracia. And then the other one is a commander named, I think his name is supposed to be Kieran, I'll put it on the screen. And Gracia, she comes from this noble family, but when the book starts, she is fleeing her planet. She's been ousted. Her twin sister has taken control, and Gracia has to get out of there. And now she is aligning herself with Siren in order to take back control and power in her throne. This is great so far. It really is. I love a good slow burner, politically driven, character focused sci-fi, and it's given me all of that. And on top of that, I am really loving the relationships in here, the way that these characters interact with each other. There has not been a conversation happening in this book that I haven't enjoyed. Some of the more political conversations, I won't lie, some of them go over my head a little bit because the commander in his POV, he's mentioning previous campaigns and relationships that, you know, the different planets have with each other, and I'm just like, interesting. I mean, it's starting to make sense, obviously, as the book is, you know, the farther the book goes on, but I'm really enjoying the more personal conversations, the more like scheming conversations that are happening in this book. The dialogue is just, in my opinion, it's perfect. Gracia and Siren, they are so toxic. They're so manipulative. The way that they play off of each other has been really exciting to read. And the thing is, the book is told in both of their perspectives, and I love both of them equally. Like, there isn't a time when I flip the page and I'm like, oh, here we go again with Siren, or here we go again with this character. Both of their POVs are really compelling. But the thing is, what is making Gracia so interesting is she's a liar. She tells you up front that she's a liar, and as you're reading her perspective, she'll be recounting something that happened and you're like, oh my God, that's horrible. Like, tell me more. And then chapters later, she'll be like, you know what, actually, it didn't happen like that. Or I must confess, I did lie about this. And you're like, girl, what is going on here? It's so interesting how she just kind of manipulates you as the reader. I really am enjoying this. I'm enjoying watching their relationship grow, this kind of power struggle almost progress. It's really good. The relationship that Gracia has with her twin sister, the one who's taken control, every time when they have been interacting with each other, I have loved it. The blurb on this book says that it would be perfect for fans of two books. First is Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie, and also A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine. I haven't read Ancillary Justice, but I can completely see how this would be great for fans of A Memory Called Empire. But it's just something about the way that the world building is presented, the way that that unfolds, and just the kind of the political intrigue of this book, I think will really work for fans of A Memory Called Empire. So I can definitely see those those similarities in that regard. But also there, not to give too much away, there's also a technology in this book that reminds me a little bit of the imago from a memory called Empire. So I am loving this. I can't wait to finish this book and share with you my final thoughts by the end. This is the first book in a planned series, and even though I could completely see this working as a great standalone, based on how the book ends, I would be down to read more. This is really good. And then I'm also reading The Blighted Stars by Megan O'Keefe. This is out on May 23rd. I haven't made as much progress in this as I have in The Stars Undying. I think I'm only on chapter 7, but this is still off to a really good start. And I'm loving it. I mean, they're completely different, but I'm loving different things about these two books now that I'm reading two sci-fi books kind of simultaneously. In The Stars Undying, I'm really enjoying the characters and the politics, but in The Blighted Stars, I'm really enjoying the world building and the technology. This book has mind mapping, and so that's been really interesting to see play out over the course of the several chapters that I've read. You know, I've already met our two main characters and I'm already enjoying their dynamic. In the description of this, it mentions that one of our main characters, Naira, and the book is told in their POVs. It says that Naira disguises herself as the other character, Tarquin's bodyguard. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, how is that gonna work? And the way that it works in the book is actually pretty entertaining. So I'm not gonna spoil that, but I'm really enjoying that and just seeing how Naira is communicating with Tarquin and being around him in this particular disguise. But the whole premise of this book, again, we have our two main characters, and Tarquin, he comes from this really powerful corporate family, and they have been responsible for a lot of the like survey missions on different planets, and largely responsible for the expansion that's happened on different planets in the galaxy. But Naira comes into the picture because she realizes that Tarquin's family, the Mercator family, they have been, you know, their mining practices on these different planets have been destroying all of these worlds. So that's kind of where her angle is coming in at, but I do want to get a little bit deeper into her motivations for going to the lengths that she has gone to get this close to Tarquin. So I can't wait to see more of that unfold, but that's kind of the basic foundation of the story so far. And Tarquin, I do love the way that he's being presented. He's this character who's just like, I don't want to be like my father. I'm not this like powerful, kind of ruthless leader. And he's also really into geology. He just doesn't feel like he fits the mold of what his family stands for. And I love kind of seeing the way that he processes that. I can't wait to keep reading more of this. Again, this is out on May 23rd. I do want to wrap this up and, you know, share my final thoughts with you guys before the final release. So more to come on this, but again, going really well. Now let's talk about some books that I really want to get to before May is over. The first one, I'm really looking forward to this. It's The Blood Gift by Annie Davenport. This is the final book in the Blood Gift duology. Last year I read and enjoyed The Blood Trials when it came out, and I do think there is a great opportunity in this book to really expand on the things that we learned about our main character Ikenna in book one. Book one, in my opinion, has a really strong blend between science fiction and fantasy, and you start to see those more like fantastical elements, especially where they concern our main character. They start to come out a lot more at the end of book one. So I just think that The Blood Gift is going to be a really strong opportunity to expand on that. And I want to see where we go. So more to come on this, but yeah, if it's anything like The Blood Trials, I'm sure I will enjoy this as well. And then we are pivoting back to fantasy once again, but this one I'm really excited for. I've been putting this off for so long, and that is The Helm of Midnight by Marina Lostetter. This is the first book in, I think, a planned trilogy. It's called The Five Penalties. Honestly, this sounds right up my alley. I am always in the mood for a creepy, dark fantasy, and that sounds like what I could be getting from this. In this, these thieves, they steal this death mask that's been imbued with the spirit of a serial killer. I don't know anything beyond that. I feel like I don't need to know anything else beyond that. Just that alone sounds like this book is going to be really intriguing. So again, cannot wait to dive into this. This is definitely one of my priorities for May. And then back to sci-fi, I finally have a copy of Rubicon by J.S. Dews. This is the new J.S. Dews novel that just came out, I think like early April, mid-April, around that time. And earlier this year I read and really enjoyed The Last Watch. I didn't read book 2 yet, but The Last Watch was pretty good. So I'm excited to see what J.S. Dews is gonna do next. We have a character in here, Sergeant Valero, who has been resurrected so many times, and on the 96th time, she is reassigned to a different unit. And she also has this virtual intelligence that starts to gain sentience, and things from there just get so messy. I cannot wait to see where this goes. Just even from what I've seen in The Last Watch, I think J.S. Dews does character relationships really well, technology, space opera. I feel like I'm in good hands. And then finally, I'm wrapping up the Wayward Pines trilogy by Blake Crouch with The Last Town. Cannot wait to read this. Book 2 was so good. Book 1 was amazing. Book 2, we finally understood what was happening, and it was kind of a, you know, where do we take the story from here? What are we gonna do kind of situation. And now, given the way that book 2 ended, things are about to be out of control. This cover is making me nervous because I don't even know what I'm supposed to make of this. I can't wait to wrap this up. I've really enjoyed being in the town of Wayward Pines, having my mind blown, like going through all these twists and turns. It has just been a fun reading experience. And then finally, let's talk about my recent read, which was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This is a new fantasy novel that just came out, and the marketing for this book has been unreal. I have seen this book. Actually, I see it. I'm on TikTok a lot. I see this book all over TikTok. Even before the book released, my For You page on TikTok was bombarded with early reviews for the book, early, you know, people making little TikTok sounds for the book, that sort of thing. And then when the book came out, oh my God, I could not even open up the app. So needless to say, this has been everywhere. The praise has been everywhere. People are loving this book, and I am so happy about that. So like I mentioned, this is an adult fantasy novel. Actually, it's classified as a new adult fantasy. I don't know enough about new adult to really speak on that in any great detail, but just know that that is what this book is labeled as new adult fantasy. Let's just get this out the way now. I didn't dislike Fourth Wing completely. I don't give star ratings on my channel anymore, but I do put them on Goodreads for the purpose of just rating books on Goodreads. On a star system, I gave this book a 2.5 out of 5. I will say I enjoy the actual story of the book. We have a main character, Violet, who she attends this war college, and the college has different like quadrants. They have the scribe, they have the scribe quadrant, and then there's also like the healer's quadrant, something else, and then there's the writer's quadrant where people go over to that side of the quadrant and become dragon riders. It's extremely dangerous. The number of people who want to go over to the writer's quadrant are not the number of people who are actually going to get a dragon. There are so many trials and competitions and one-on-one fighting, and just people are eliminating each other left and right, trying to get their own dragon. And even once you prove yourself in that way and you prove your strength and your smarts, it's not even a guarantee that a dragon is going to actually choose you. It really depends. And our main character, Violet, she has trained to become a scribe. But at the very beginning of the book, like first couple of pages, her mother, who is the general of the college, is like, no child of mine is going to be a scribe. We are a family of writers. Well, her father was a scribe, but she's like, we're a family of writers. You are going to the writer's quadrant, which, you know, no Mother's Day present for her. She's terrible. So she forces her daughter into this terrible situation, puts her life at risk, and now Violet finds herself in the writer's quadrant, fighting for her life in the hopes that maybe she'll get a dragon. And I was gonna say there's a romantic element, but this is actually a fantasy romance novel. So the romance is a big part of the story. And I know what you guys are thinking. You're like, oh, Tori, that's why you didn't like it. It's romance. You don't read romance. Actually, funny enough, I enjoyed the romance in this book. I knew it was romance going into it. So I was like, you know, I'm on board for it. I'm in the mood for a little romance. And actually, I really liked the main male character. If I'm being real, he was the best part of this book. The main male character and the dragons. Aside from all of that, what is really keeping me from loving this book is, unfortunately, the writing. I really couldn't get past it. It did not work for me at all. There's a couple things I did not enjoy about the writing. For me, this reads a little bit too modern. It reads like, I said this in my quick TikTok review, it reads sometimes like a contemporary romance novel that just so happens to have dragons in it. In a lot of ways, it feels like a very traditional fantasy world. The characters are speaking with very modern dialogue. The slang is everywhere. And it got to the point where I was just finding it to be a little bit too distracting and kind of jarring. The other thing, the tone of this book and the prose has a very different feel than what is actually happening on the page. Sometimes I think the tone of this book feels just a little too immature, and reading it, for me at least, that just felt like such an odd like juxtaposition to what is actually going on. A lot of the time, Violet's inner thoughts really took me out of the story. Like they would be fighting for their lives, something traumatic could have just happened. And the scene is very chaotic in that way where she literally just almost lost her life. And she'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. And then she'll look over at the main male character and she'll say, oh my God, he's so hot. I think sometimes it's used to be humorous, but it doesn't come off like that to me. I think this is going to be a complete matter of preference. It doesn't come off that way to me. It comes off as very distracting. But even aside from that, Violet's inner thoughts, they sometimes feel like stuff that a character much, much younger than her would be thinking. I don't think young is the best way for me to explain it because I read middle grade, I read young adults sometimes. So I have been in the heads of younger characters before, but there's something about Violet in particular that it's not young. It's more so like, I guess I will go with immature. Immature is probably the best word. And it's immature to the point of being distracting from what is actually happening in the scene. And the other big thing that I really didn't enjoy is the prose is so heavy-handed to the point where I feel like I'm not being trusted as a reader. A lot of things in the book are very over-explained, even within a scene. Like it could be, this is not an example in the book, but just overall example. You know, a character could have like sweaty palms and about to be hyperventilating because they're in front of a dragon. And you as the reader, you know that they're scared because that's a terrifying experience. But then Violet in the prose will say, oh, she's so terrified of that dragon. And that happens so much throughout the book. And then there was a scene, and when this happened, I was like, okay, I've had enough. There is a very insignificant character. I don't even think their name is mentioned. So this is not really a spoiler, but they have their neck snapped. And it's very clear that their neck was snapped. But then Violet in the prose goes, his neck was just snapped. And I'm just like, girl, let me read. Like I get it, but it was just kind of that like hand-holding prose and description that was really throwing me off after a while. So those are my quick thoughts on Fourth Wing. I think overall the story itself is very entertaining. I don't know if I'm gonna read book 2. I have no idea. I really don't like being in Violet's head. So that is it for me, you guys. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments how your May is going and what you've read so far. And let me know if you've read Fourth Wing and what you think of it. I would actually love to hear your thoughts on this. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.